So there was news yesterday regarding Jimmy Butler. We've been goofing around with the summer of Jimmy, but here's some actual news. So Keith Pompey, who covers the Sixers for the Philadelphia Inquirer, talked about the Sixers are prepared to offer Jimmy an extension, maximum extension. And there's a bunch of info that seems to be coming out now. Now, I don't know where it's from, that Jimmy wants an extension. He wants it with the Heat, but he wants an extension, period, end of story. I thought this was interesting. Ira has a good story about it in the Sun Sentinel. Barry Jackson also tweeted out today. To me, the two Butler questions for June and July are this. One, does he force the Heat's hand by asking for a trade? He has not to this point, likes it here, but strongly wants extension. Number two, from Barry Jackson, even if he doesn't demand a trade, is there a Butler trade scenario that's so tempting and would help now and in the future? The Heat says yes. Now, I know Udonis was on ESPN today, and he was saying, no chance Jimmy's going anywhere. I won't let him go anywhere. But this is one of the reasons, I think we talked about this yesterday, where I'm not certain Pat Riley is going to love Udonis being a national pundit all of a sudden, because he also represents the team. But there's something interesting going on here. Somewhere out of somewhere, it's been leaked that Jimmy wants an extension. The Sixers are prepared to give it. So I don't know if that's coming from Jimmy's camp. I don't know if that's coming from the Sixers camp, but it is going to create a scenario where the Heat are going to have to bleep or get off the pot.
Yeah.
I was saying to Solana yesterday, it almost, in my mind, opens up a little out for Pat Riley if he does desire to move on. And maybe he really was angry during the post-season press conference. It gives him a little out where he could say, we love Jimmy, but we just couldn't give him the extension because we wanted to be free to do what we wanted after the next season. And because he forced our hand, this is what we had to do. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But it does seem like something's percolating all of a sudden.
Does Jimmy, because it's the 76ers coming up, right? So it's Embiid, Maxey, Tobias Harris, Lowry, Buddy Hield, Oubre, Payne, Batum. You add Jimmy to that roster, is that a championship roster?
To me, yes.
I don't know. They go what, 6-6 against the Knicks?
To me, yes. Embiid wasn't completely healthy for the entire postseason. Like there's some things obvious, but this is dependent on all the teams. Like you could make the case that the Heat may have gotten past the Celtics with Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean? I was saying to Solana yesterday, like if you think after having watched the Celtics, like I have, I think, well, if Jimmy Butler was available, they may have beaten the Celtics. If Pat Riley thinks that, then maybe you don't move on from Jimmy because you go, you know what? With Jimmy and Bam and Tyler, they're all healthy. We think that we can compete in the East. So there's so many tentacles that this moves on. Yeah. All I know is all of a sudden there's something percolating with Jimmy Butler. I don't know where it's coming from.
And I love the Heat to be involved. That's one thing I always say. I love the Heat that are always involved because Pat Riley even said, he said during the press conference, it plays it in the open. He's like, there's 2 or 3 players that if they become available, we got to talk. Like we need to work this out. We've watched this roster go very deep in the playoffs and then get beat before they win the ring. I went to the Nuggets series, the finals, paid $14,000 for 2 seats and watched them get their ass whooped by the big boy Aaron Gordon dunking on their ass all the time. Like we've watched
not that you've taken it personally.
$14,000 to watch Aaron Gordon whoop my ass. Like it was a very good feeling, huh? But yeah, like we've watched this. What are we gonna do moving forward? And if Jimmy's a part of it, Jimmy's a part of it. I've said it. It's Bam and them. That's what I want. My thought is it's Bam and them. I love Bam Adebayo. I want him to be the cornerstone of this organization. Put some other people around Bam. That's what I want to see.
Bunch of people texting in, which is true. All of a sudden, Jimmy's got leverage now. If you didn't think he had any leverage because nobody was interested, nobody was willing to be like, The Heat don't have to give him an extension if no one else will. The Heat don't have to give him an extension if no one is interested in his services.
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden, if it comes out the Sixers want him and the Sixers are good and they are prepared to open up the bank for him, he's got leverage.
But, I mean, yes, and there's also, in the Herald today, there's a report that outside of the Sixers, there's 2 other teams, according to league sources, that would be willing to give Jimmy Butler that extension as well. But if the Sixers are adamant about wanting Jimmy now, right, to what Keith Pompeo was saying, what are they willing to what are they willing to give up for Jimmy Butler? To me, that's where it becomes interesting, because if you are the Heat and you're not going to give Jimmy this extension and you're willing to hear trade offers, how much of all those picks that the Sixers are able to give up? I believe Barry Jackson, he had written that they'd be able to give up 4 first-round picks. I have to look up the tweet, but 4 first-round picks and up to 6. Yeah, 4 to 5 first-rounders or up to 6 second-rounders for Jimmy Butler. Like, what is it? How much do they value Jimmy Butler? And then what would the Heat do with those picks? Would they, in turn, flip them?
Would you take 2 first-rounders and 4 second-rounders for Jimmy Butler right now?
No. You got it. Bam and them.
No.
You would not.
Bam and them.
No.
Would you take 3 first-rounders for Jimmy Butler?
No. I'm so disgusted with the way Heat Nation has turned on Jimmy Butler. Truthfully, I'm just so disgusted with it, because everybody is saying, get rid of Jimmy. And I think this whole extension talk is so ridiculous. Like, I understand people not wanting to pay him $58 million at 37 years old. I realize that. But what I think people fail to understand is that that's 3 years away from now. Like, what about the years in between? If the Heat are going to dedicate that much money to Jimmy Butler and give him this extension, which, by the way, Pat Riley was pretty adamant, like, we're not worried about that right now. We have until next offseason to decide. If they're going to commit that money to him, which really isn't that much, it obviously means that they have a plan in place to go find another player to put around him and Bam Adebayo. And if that's the case, then you're not worried about 3 years from now, because you're worried about this upcoming season and the next season where they should be competing.
Solana, we've talked about this before. Where does Jimmy rank in the NBA as players? 18 to 25?
But Crowder, I mean, that's fine.
You're arguing about the 18th best player in the league.
You can hold on to that argument if you want.
3 first-round picks, Solana?
That 3 first round, you know, we can spin for 3 first rounders.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you could spin those 3 first rounders for someone
into a top 5 player.
Right. There's no guarantee of it, though. And right now, you're at the very least, you're guaranteed to still have a pair of Bam and Jimmy Butler, who has proven that over 5 years, they've been able to get you to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times and to the NBA Finals 2 times. And you're willing to toss all that away for first-round picks, which, by the way, I love assets. But there's no guarantee that you can turn that into Donovan Mitchell. There's no guarantee that you can turn that into Paul George. There's no guarantee that you can turn that into another superstar. And last summer should have been very eye-opening to Heat fans, because we had Damian Lillard in the bag with enough resources to do it, and one owner decided to poo-poo the whole thing. And you were unable to come away with a roster that would have put you back in title contention.
Bam and Donovan Mitchell.
No, that's fine.
That's a better one too than Bam and Jimmy.
Is it? Because Donovan Mitchell hasn't gotten as far as Jimmy Butler has in the postseason.
He's
and
10 years younger than Donovan Mitchell. I mean, than Jimmy. He's younger. He's a future.
But what
Jimmy's
are you
what, 34?
What are you building for is my question.
You're building for a championship, and you're building for offense. You're building for a guy that's going to play 60, 70 games guaranteed every year. That's what you're building.
The Heat still have a window here. And one bad year where Jimmy Butler only played 60 games, and then truthfully, had he been healthy, probably we'd still be talking about NBA playoff basketball, if we're being 100% honest. But because Kelly Oubre took him out in the postseason, now everybody wants to say, That's it. Trade Jimmy, flip Jimmy for picks. I mean, what are we doing here? Jimmy
Listen, I don't want to trade Jimmy. I love having Jimmy Butler. I'm just telling you, if somebody offered me 3 first-rounders or even 2 first-rounders, I wouldn't dismiss it as quickly as you did.
But they're 76ers first-rounders, right?
I get you. They're not going to be lottery picks.
How valuable are these picks going to be when they're putting together Tyrese Maxey, a Jimmy Butler guy who they, by the way, believe can put them over the top, and Joel Embiid? These aren't going to be lottery picks. And how much do you put in those 3 picks landing you Donovan Mitchell? If that's in the bag, fine. Then you take it as it is and you say, is this the best move for our organization? But to just assume, 3 first-round picks, perfect, we'll go find another superstar. Good luck, because last offseason, that didn't work for you either.
Right.
Because Joe Cronin's a butt wipe.
Okay,
butt wipe.
What incentive do the Cavs have to take 3 first-round picks for you and give you Donovan Mitchell?
Donovan Mitchell doesn't want to be there anymore.
Oh, Damian Lillard didn't want to be in Portland.
And Joe Cronin messed it up because Joe Cronin didn't want to deal with Pat Riley because he's a butt wipe.
Butt wipe.